Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I did a video yesterday discussing Juji Mufu and Clarence Kennedy, and I discussed the glute ham raise there briefly, and I had someone come in and say, Jason, no gym in my area even has a glute ham raise. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And this is kind of an interesting point we are at in the whole training world, in the gym world, the lifting world, is that we're starting to see these divergence happening. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. And I think people like me, not as much me, because I'm not super big. Yeah, I've got 65 million views, but that's spread out over quite a few years. And in the grand scheme of things, I'm not even close to a top tier fitness YouTuber, right? Maybe if I continue to grow my outreach over a few years, I might be. But there are people far more influential than me. But we are seeing a growing body of people here who are promoting the basics, barbell work, and even something like a glute ham raise. And what you're seeing happening, I think, in part because of CrossFit, in part because people out there promoting some of this and more pushback against the bodybuilding world. That's one of the good things I will say about CrossFit. You meet CrossFitters, they make fun of bodybuilding, just like bodybuilding makes fun of CrossFitters. Right? And therefore you're seeing this anti-machine rhetoric, which I agree with. I don't like machines. But the bodybuilding world gave us machines, and it was like Arthur Jones was responsible for that, who again coached bodybuilders. The competitive bodybuilding world gave us machines. And what ultimately happened is that it became a lazy way to train for people who didn't want to learn how to do anything, who just wanted to get in a gym and they could have one employee. That was how it was originally marketed for gyms. You get one employee to come in and teach people how to use 12 machines. You just need one employee with no personal training background, nothing, can teach everyone how to use it, and they can run people through. Which the epitome of this has now become the Planet Fitness. And what you're seeing with mainstream gyms, box gyms, and everything else, and you're going to see the hardcore bodybuilding gyms hold on longer. I think that's going to be your last holdout outside of Planet Fitness. You're going to see more and more of this because 24-hour fitness, I chatted with them about this when I was training there, and some of the management and other people and the trainers, is that they're all realizing, because they have actual trainers there who care, that the big movements are what really they need for their clients. So in other words, for them to even be able to train their clients properly, they needed a lot more racks. They needed functional fitness areas. The one I was going to recently had a glute ham raise. Not only did it have 8 racks, it had a glute ham raise. It had a prowler, right? It had a 24-hour fitness. You're seeing more and more of that happening. And even the CEO of that company had said they've realized that is the direction things are going in. They had reduced nationwide. They were reducing the amount of floor space they were dedicating to machines and increasing the amount they were putting towards racks and everything else. Now, this is going to be an interesting point, because I think a big part of this is gyms have been able to market this, is that because the bodybuilding world got behind it, because it became mainstream popular to put all these machines in, it also put training out of the reach of the common person. It made less people really get access to what they thought they needed even to get started with a home gym, and realize, well, the only way I can get all these machines, the only way I can get access to all these cables is to join a gym and pay for that. I don't have room. I can't afford to buy machines. I can't afford to have a big cable crossover station in my garage. Right? That was kind of the mentality that's been used to help sell gym memberships. That's a big part of what's been used, because people think that they actually need some of this stuff, that they can't reach their goals without it. And the reality is you don't need any of it. You don't need any of it. I don't care what your actual real goals are. You can compete in bodybuilding, you can compete in powerlifting, you can compete in a lot of even these physique related things if you're creative and smart without access to a single cable or machine. It can absolutely be done. Absolutely be done. Those things aren't necessary to maximally stimulate any muscle or movement pattern in the body. They're just not necessary. It can be done completely with free weights and a few other devices and things. But that's kind of the point that we're seeing here, though, is that we are seeing people influence that. And that's what I would say to all of you out there, and even the other YouTubers and other people: promote more of the basics. Make it so mainstream that everyone who goes to a gym starts demanding more free weights. That is going to force gyms to start reducing machine space. Now, Where gyms run into a problem here is that also eventually puts them in the situation like I was at. I would go to a gym for a while, or the several 24s that had all this stuff, but they had Olympic lifting platforms. They had functional fitness areas. I didn't leave those areas at all. So that does make people realize eventually, if that's where you're doing all your training, you really could eventually set that up in your home. So will they lose some clients to home gyms? Yeah. But is that a bad thing? If we want to talk about the fitness industry, are companies that are actually making racks and barbells and plates, like quality ones too, that's good for them because that's still more equipment sold. That's good for the fitness industry. Some machine makers might need to push away from machines more. They're going to sell less machines. But that doesn't mean the manufacturing jobs and the producers go away. They're just shifted to another product that's more useful, cheaper and simpler to make, but more useful. So it doesn't hurt industry. Now, where gyms would say, well, we might lose a few more members. You know, if this happens and this whole functional fitness thing kicks off, more and more, at least what I'm calling functional fitness, we know that's a bit of a sham phrase. Which again, all of us have the ability to push this. Every one of you have the ability to promote this idea with your friends, family, your local gyms, all of us who are YouTubers. What we promote people doing and what we choose to do on our channels will influence the culture more and more and more, because social media is growing, YouTube is growing. Those of us who have an outreach, we have the ability to control this to a large extent. Start pushing it away from that. And here's the upside. I don't think gyms are going to lose money from this. And people say, why? Because their overhead costs will go down. In other words, yes, they might lose 10% of their annual membership to people who go build home gyms. But how much is it going to cost less in equipment for them if the machines are gone? And that's what you need to think about in terms of everything from floor space use to the machines that they don't need anymore, that they don't have to buy. Now, granted, a lot of them have already invested in this, but here's what I think you're going to see: a larger and larger divergence, and the industry is realizing this. Training with free weights and all this other stuff and a few implements and everything is becoming the larger part of the training world, in large part due to CrossFit, in large part due to powerlifting increasing in popularity, in large part due to a lot of strength athletes being on YouTube. More people realizing this is better for sports, which is one reason a lot of people train. You're seeing it shift. And I think you're going to see the mainstream box gyms and performance-based gyms continue to grow and push in this direction, and less machines. And I think you're going to see the Planet Fitnesses for people who aren't serious. Because Planet Fitness is where you go if you are absolutely not serious about your goals, you don't want any coaching or training, and you just want to go in and say that you go to a gym to feel better about yourself. That's why it exists. And there's a market for that. It's not people who are really serious or ever really going to reach their goals. They just want to feel like they're making the effort, right? To feel better about it. And that's okay. That's okay. I would never promote that style of stuff, but hey, I would rather them do that than do nothing at all. It's not correct, but isn't it better than them being sedentary, at least for all of us who maybe our taxes might have to cover some of their medical costs and stuff down the road? Okay, I'd rather see that than nothing. But it's an ineffective model, but there's a market of people who want an ineffective model, right? There's a market for that. Because they don't actually care about the results. They care about just making the effort. And they can pay $10 a month to join Planet Fitness and show up off and on when they feel like it. And that's a done deal. That's where I think you're going to see more and more of the machines go for people who aren't serious. And you're going to see the holdouts in the hardcore bodybuilding gyms, because bodybuilders think they need machines for some reason to isolate muscles. And then I think you're going to see a larger push. If all of us continue to do this, we're going to see the mainstream training world that's in the forefront. I think it is going to go over to almost exclusively free weights, implements, and a lot of this functional fitness stuff, some of which I'm not as big on, some of the kettlebells and stuff, but I think you're going to see it go that direction. And you're going to see the machines and cables get phased out more and more. And that's what I think is going to happen over time. And so that's the direction I think we want to push it towards. Because, I mean, ideally what I would like to see, and I think a lot of us would, every single machine in every serious gym where people actually care about getting results need to be replaced with some sort of free weight station, with a glute ham raise, with a platform, with a rack, with a bench, I don't know, with a space to push a prowler or a sled. That would be ideal. That would be ideal. But we'll see what happens over time. But ultimately, guys, some of you are going to have to hold out. Some of you are going to have to push for that at your local level still. I mean, you're the consumer, you're the customer. You do have a small amount of power, even though you're just one person. That adds up. Think about those grains of sand that tip a scale eventually. So if you don't have access to the stuff you want at your local gyms, take your businesses somewhere where you do, or start complaining to the management and ownership about that. Be vocal about it. You can change it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.